Hi everybody, I'm Bill McMillan. I'm one of your fellow parishioners, and during this pandemic we've decided to try and take this opportunity to add to the content of our parish website, the Facebook page, and the other social media that we have, the YouTube channel. And we're going to do an attempt to get to know our priests and our deacons on a little bit deeper level. And so this series that we're going to record is what we were calling 10 questions with our priests and deacons. And this is for all of us to get to know them, these men of God, on a little bit deeper level. First up today, we're going to interview Deacon Mike. Deacon Mike, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for asking.
We sent you the questions, so hopefully you know a little bit what to expect. But our first question is, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Los Angeles. I was born at St. Vincent Hospital, which is in downtown LA, and it was sold recently, and now it's open to treat COVID patients.
Wow.
So my parents lived in LA at St. Agatha's Parish.
Uh-huh.
They lived on the parish grounds. The pastor had a couple of houses, little houses, that he rented out. And my parents weren't making a lot of money, and part of their rent was to clean the church on Saturdays and polish all the wood. And even though I was maybe 3 or 4, I still remember that.
Wow.
So we moved in around 1958, 59 out to La Puente and St. Martha's Parish,
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up there and went to St. Martha's School. So my parents were involved. Very involved in the parish.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturdays, again, they'd come in and they print out the bulletin on the mimeograph
Oh
machine.
yeah, I remember that.
I really looked up to my pastor and to we had Irish priests that were just being ordained and coming over from Ireland to the archdiocese.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved them. I loved their sense of liturgy. My old Irish pastor taught me about the Latin Mass and how to serve it, how to be an altar boy. And all those things were very, very important to me.
So when you at that age, it was all the Latin Mass. Is that true?
Yes, up until I was in around 7th grade, 8th grade,
Uh-huh.
up until 1968, things started changing.
Right.
I entered the minor seminary, the high school seminary, in 1969 out at San Fernando,
Mm-hmm.
and the Mass changed in April. The sacramentary that was used was changed to English.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of changes. It was right after the Second Vatican Council.
Right.
And liturgy has always been something that's lit a fire in me.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved liturgy, all my life, and I think the priests at St. Martha's and all the priests in the seminary and after have had a great effect on me. In terms of involving the laity as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that was the time when it was just the priest and the altar servers, the altar boys.
Yeah.
And one of the added unfortunate things to the COVID virus and the self-quarantine is that we're back to the priest on the altar and no one else.
By himself.
We've lost a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess my life has always been intertwined with work in the church.
Yeah, that goes way back to the time you were born.
It does.
You kind of answered the second question already. Was your family religious, and how did they practice their faith?
Very much so.
Yeah.
My dad was a convert. He worked for the railroads, and he wasn't an engineer. He didn't work on the trains, but he worked in administration, and he did a lot of traveling. And during the summers, I would go with him on trips to San Diego or Indio, wherever, and we would always say the Rosary, going to or coming back. My parents would say the Rosary. My wife and I say the Rosary. Not as often as we should. We certainly say the Rosary on trips and on walks. Now that we've been quarantined, so that's been really important. Another major part of my life, having gone through the seminary for 10 years, is the Liturgy of the Hours. And as part of the ordination of a deacon, we promise to say the Liturgy of the Hours every day. And my wife and I say morning prayer and evening prayer. And it's a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of deacons that do that. They just kind of say it by themselves. But being a married deacon is a unique gift that we have. And celebrating morning prayer and evening prayer together has always been part of our marriage. Has always been part of, even when we started dating, I was kind of a nerd out of the seminary. I didn't know what to do on the date. So our first date, I think I said, why don't we say evening prayer?
You know how to pray.
So that's always been part of our lives.
Wow, that's beautiful. You're skipping ahead on me. The next question was how would you describe your catechesis? How did you kind of answered that? You went to a Catholic school as a young boy, but how did you learn the faith?
Well, I learned the faith primarily from my parents, from my godparents, especially my aunt and uncle, who lived in Phoenix. I learned the faith in a more structured way in the seminary, but my experience of the faith has grown through other people. I've been, I got a master's in pastoral theology a number of years ago, and going through diaconate formation for 5.5 years. I think I graduated in like 47th grade or something in Catholic school. But it's the people, when I was in college seminary especially, who kind of took me under their wing and who weren't impressed that I was in the seminary, who were very willing to kick me in the rear to help me to see the gifts that God has given me, that I could do whatever I wanted as long as I did my best, as long as I used the gifts that I have. And I think that's what a vocation is figuring out what are the gifts that God's given me and how I can best use them. And that's an ongoing process. It never ends. It wasn't just, well, Rachel and I got married. That's my vocation.
Mm-hmm.
Our vocation is to our kids, and now our grandkids,
Mm-hmm.
and to others. And diaconate is very much part of that. My own journey, and I think Rachel's as well, right now is I'm waiting to start a program called Clinical Pastoral Education down at County General USC to learn to be a hospice chaplain and to care for those folks who are at the end of their journey, earthly journey, and help them peacefully transition, whether they have faith or not, or whether their faith is different than ours or not, whether they're an atheist.
Right.
Help them to be peaceful and to know that they're good.
You're 4 for 4, because the next question was how and when did you feel called to your vocation? And it's a double gear, because you have 2 vocations by definition. You're married and you're a deacon.
Right.
So either one or both of those.
Well, I felt called to the priesthood as a kid.
Right.
And I got up to about a year or two before diaconate ordination, and I realized I wanted a family. I hadn't met Rachel yet. And a lot of it is ministry. But it was also finding a woman that I could love and who would love me, and having a family. So that vocation has grown, thank God, and I'm blessed to be married to Rachel because she helps me. It's very easy. You get a lot of adulation, I guess. You get a lot of people saying, oh, your homily was really good. Well, I'm not sure if it was that great. Rachel helps temper me.
Good.
She helps keep my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And she also helps with my homilies. She'll read them. We'll talk about the readings. And she'll help me, maybe you can expand on this a little bit, or kind of dump that part, or that sort of thing. So I'm very blessed. So those vocations have meshed, have been interwoven.
Yeah.
With my kids, it's the same, and my family. But Jesus reveals himself as is stated in this coming Sunday's gospel, that he sends his advocate, that he's another advocate to the Holy Spirit, and reveals himself. A year ago, I wasn't thinking about being a hospice chaplain. It was about 6 months ago that we started talking about that. And as I get older, I don't look, and Rachel doesn't look at, we'll stop doing stuff, at this age. It's kind of what are we going to be doing?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, what's next?
Good for you. Great way to do it. There's a lot to pick from in this next question. What do you like most about being Catholic?
Well, I'm a strong extrovert. So being with people lights my fire.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I teach baptism class on one Tuesday night a month for godparents and parents who are about to baptize. Mm-hmm. And it's a blast. It's a blast because I'm not lecturing. I'm asking them what they think about things, and adults learn that way. They rarely learn from sitting in a chair and hearing somebody lecture at them. I use that whiteboard and put their thoughts about baptism on it, and we talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I add things to it. I had death, resurrection, and the Paschal mystery, resurrection, and all of these things that we learn together. I love being with people.
Yeah.
If I didn't, and that's what hurts a lot right now, is
Right.
that I can't be.
Right.
This Sunday we had the blessing of mothers, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to be with folks, even if it was just a couple of minute encounter at a time.
Yeah. That's one of the tragedies of this pandemic, but hopefully we'll have that in the rearview mirror pretty soon. What have you found to be one of the most hardest or challenging things about our faith?
That's a good question. Gosh, I mean, it's our faith. Deacons are kind of a part lay person, part cleric,
Mm-hmm.
part member of the clergy, and there's a bit of sacrifice in that.
Sure.
And it's something that I said yes to, and not wanting to pat myself on the back at all, but when I run into those things that are sacrifices, when I can't do the things that I want to do, or taking on other people's issues or pain,
Mm-hmm.
that's hard.
Yeah.
That's real hard.
Yeah.
I like going up and down the aisles before Mass and after Mass and saying hi to people,
Mm-hmm.
and asking them how they're doing it. And every so often someone will say, well, not doing too good.
Right.
And even though there might be a minute left before Mass is supposed to start, I at least try to sit down with them,
Mm-hmm.
and let them talk.
Yeah.
And then bring that pain to the altar. So even though it's hard, it feeds that fire in my heart. So I love the church. I hate the sinfulness of the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate the sexual misconduct and all the other stuff that's sinful. I hate the sinfulness in myself.
Yeah.
But I know that God loves us and forgives us, and we're a human church.
Very. What are some of your favorite practices and prayers, and how did you learn them?
Well, as I said, the Liturgy of the Hours.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I love the Rosary. The Liturgy, the Eucharistic Liturgy.
Yeah.
And am learning to slow down in my prayer. I'm learning that my mind wanders pretty easily.
Yeah.
And especially if I'm saying morning prayer or evening prayer by myself, and halfway through a psalm, I'm somewhere else.
Right.
I'm learning not to get mad at myself, and I'm learning that my guardian angel is praying with me. And there are times when I ask my guardian angel to finish that prayer. I don't know what I just prayed for, but I know my guardian angel prayed.
Absolutely. Those are great. Those are beautiful. We're in the month of May, which the church historically is devoted to Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a devotion to her?
I do. I think that Mary is with me. I think Mary Mary as a mother, as the mother of God, as my spiritual mom, always holds me when I need, as she holds those who are in pain, especially. And one of the, I mean, a layperson can do a rosary or a vigil, but that's such a profound moment when someone has lost someone that they love. And joining that time with Mary is just a profound moment.
Yeah. We've been in the pandemic now for a few months. How you kind of alluded to a little bit in your other answers, but how have you been doing through all of this, you and your family, and how are things for you?
Thank God we're doing fine. We had a cousin who tested positive and was having a tough time, but she's come through and is home. And thank God for that. My daughter knows a couple of people who have died, so that's been hard on her. But thank God so far we're fine.
Good.
A lot of trust in the Lord. That's not to say I won't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting in the Lord and hopefully putting our faith in Jesus and Mary to help us deal with the consequences of that, if that were to happen.
Yeah, now is a very good time to go down that road. Number 10, our last one. Anything else you'd like to share with the parishioners, or you'd like them to know about you?
Well, even though I'm going to be studying to be a hospice chaplain, that's not going to negate my being here at St. Angela Merici. I'm not moving away. I'm going to be doing some different things, and I won't have some of the time that I've had in the past. To be honest with you, I don't know what it's going to mean. Just like the pandemic, how I'll be able to minister is up to God, and I'll try to do the best I can. I love being here. I was hired as the first youth minister in 1979 when I left the seminary. Wow. I was here for a couple of years. So when I needed to be sponsored by a parish, because we lived outside the diocese, to be a deacon, we came here and we really loved it, and we've been here for over 10, 11, 12 years, something like that. Yeah. I love St. Angela Merici. It's the people have helped me in my faith journey incredibly so.
But we love you, and we thank you for all that you do and your sacrifices you make, and especially for your time today.
Well, thank you.
Deacon Mike Schaefer.
Thank you.